Hello friends, y'all have been asking and today I am delivering. We are going to do some project updates. You want to know how these projects that I have been working on this summer, early spring have been doing, and today I am going to share them with you. As always, with any garden, there are messes and there are successes, and I am not holding back. I have not done anything to these gardens in preparation of this video, so you're going to see what a real life garden looks like here in North Carolina, a Zone 8A. And so, yeah, let's just jump right in and have some fun this morning because I always say, if things are happening in my garden, then they're happening in somebody else's garden, and iron sharpens iron. So let's learn together because one of you sweet viewers turned me on to something that could be an absolute game changer in my garden. I will share with you that in just a minute. But first, the first update is the collection of terracotta pots that Mimi and I put together. Y'all, this is definitely a massive success here in the garden. I have always wanted to have a collection of terracotta pots in my garden. I just think it is like the classic cottage garden, English garden style, and it is absolutely just fun and eclectic, and you can put all sorts of different plants in here. Everything is doing so well. I mean, absolutely fantastic. This is the new hydrangea from Proven Winners, the Let's Dance Hot Stepper. Put it in here, y'all. It was a very small 1 gallon. We've had lots of growth on it. You can see that we've had old blooms and now we have got fresh blooms because this blooms on new and old growth. You can also see that this side is taller and this is shorter. So what do? I will simply take my container and go whoop and rotate it around. It's a beautiful thing about a container is I can rotate it with the sun. Also, the new the High Five Green Fingers Fatsia from Proven Winners. This too was new in a 1 gallon. Is loving this pot. There is tons of new growth in there. And this one too, I just rotate around. And then we've got like some perennials. Look at the Heart to Heart Creme Brulee Caladium. Loving it, y'all. This is why we love it. It's just continuing to push out new growth. The Endless Illumination Broalia is doing great. Pegasus is hanging in there. I brought over my perennials that were in the driveway garden. They love this more shadier area. And then I've got a bunch of like different ferns and house plants that will go inside there during the winter. So yeah, everything here is doing absolutely fantastic. Love it. Could not be happier with this one. Speaking of the Heart to Heart Creme Brulee Caladium, update on this container. I just planted this container less than a month ago. Y'all, do you see why Creme Brulee is without a doubt my favorite caladium? Technically, this is a shade caladium, but however, this is getting some morning sun and then gets hot afternoon sun. This container is not on irrigation. I've had to water it, of course, in the beginning. And then here lately, we've gotten some good rain. And honestly, the Creme Brulee is kind of overtaking the Diamond Frost. Am I mad about that? Nope, not one bit. And this is why, my friends, we love caladiums here in the Southeast because they thrive in the heat and the humidity. Of course, when I planted this, I started with brand new, fresh soil. And my goodness, y'all, it is just being an absolute rock star. The same day that I planted the Creme Brulee, I planted this little window box with one white Wonder Caladium and then the Creekside Champions Scaevolas. Everything's doing great. Like, look at that beautiful, nice, dark foliage on the Scaevolas, covered in flowers. They have found their feet, as I say, and doing really well. Now that they are nice and adjusted, they will go ahead and fill up some more and begin to spill over. But Scaevolas and the Sun Caladiums are a great option for those sunny areas that maybe you're not going to spend a ton of time on. These are not high maintenance diva plants. They are easy peasy, but yet very, very showy. You're going to notice a theme here in my mid-July garden in North Carolina: caladiums. I'm telling you, they are a southern gardener's best friend in the heat and the humidity of this summer. This too is White Wonder. I filled up these caladium containers with these caladiums rather. When I planted this, y'all, I'm not gonna lie, they were a little sad looking, right? I mean, because the caladiums at that time were on the smaller side. They just looked a little puny, a little dinky, but I had no doubt that they were going to do this. Filling in this urn here on the patio, when I say that this is like full sun all day long, that is exactly what I mean. It is blazing hot out here, and you can see that there is no burn, there is no issue. These caladiums are handling it like a boss. Now, these are on drip irrigation. You can see that it ran this morning, and we had some, here we go, we had some good watering going on because it is still kind of damp right there. So I think it just came on. So as far as that goes, so it comes on once a day. I think it runs for 15 minutes. It is that little micro tubing in here, and y'all, there you go. Haven't done water soluble fertilizer. I have done nothing. But when they first planted, make sure they had the water. Of course, the irrigation's been running. Boom, there you go, looking great. I am loving it so much. Now, let's just be honest and let's talk about maybe some areas that I am not loving so much. Well, first of all, I'm loving this. This is, of course, the purple fountain grass, and then the sun patience. The sun patience, they had a rough start during the beginning because we went through a drought. Watered them a couple of times, you know, throughout the week, and man, they are doing great. Loving that. Now, we have got an irrigation issue going on. This is not really a project update, but this is called going through the gardens, and I'm like, okay, this is not good. So obviously we have got a leak somewhere here in the spireas, and so I'm gonna have to turn the system on and see what is going on. Now, as far as the wash that you see where the mulch has come in, that's called summer rainstorms, and the summer rainstorms have moved the mulch. Now, what I'm ready to pull out, and we'll do this ASAP, are the Supertunia Bordeaux's. Y'all, I don't know. I don't know what, as far as like, well, one is July, okay? So there's that. So July and Supertunias in the southeast, they do not mix. But I am just ready to go ahead and pull these out. So you can see they still have a smattering of blooms on them. But also, I was telling Jerry, like these double play doozies, spireas, man, they have filled in this bed massively, which is fantastic. I am not mad about that at all. It gives me beautiful structure. I love it with the incredible hydrangeas behind it. It's great. So this is telling me, okay, I'm taking note as my bunny hunter over here is looking for her resident rabbits so she can chase them. It tells me that, you know what, I may not put annuals underneath the doozies because they're getting so big and they're just filling out so fast and they're great that, you know, next year, maybe this saves me some time that I don't need to put any kind of annual right here. So that works for me on that one. And then, okay, now moving on. So you were with me earlier in this summer, and we came over here to the back garden and we planted some seeds. We did squash, we did zucchini, we did sunflowers, we did zinnias, we did some cosmos, right? So we planted all of those things. So again, messes and successes, my friends. Before I show you this, remember, we've been out of town for 4 days in Ohio at Cultivate. So if you're a vegetable gardener, you're going to understand the situation right now. So great success. The squash and the zucchini, my gosh, they have done great. What I'm referring to as far as being out of town is, look at that squash. Oh, she's a big one. But also, oh, Brenna, watch out. So she's looking for the bunnies. We have got our bumblebees in there in the flowers, pollinating and just having a great time. So they are doing well. So after this, I'm going to go ahead, of course, and harvest, because look at those big squash. Brenna, there's not a rabbit. You're okay. No rabbits. And then the zucchini is also doing well. Now remember, this is an Italian type of zucchini. So they're meant to get big. So you look at that zucchini and you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be full of seeds and tough. Nope. It is a large variety, practically seedless, with very thin skin. They're delicious. So very happy with how the squash and zucchini are doing. Now, let me show you my beautiful sunflowers. You ready? Hold your socks. You're gonna get knocked off. Look at those gorgeous sunflowers. And the zinnias next door. Look at all those flowers. Yep. Now the weeds are doing great. And I will say that we had almost 100% germination. I had the most beautiful row of little baby sunflowers going down, the most beautiful row of zinnias going down. And as I said earlier, we have resident rabbits. And a couple of you were like, Jenny, be careful because rabbits love little tiny sunflowers. Yes, they do. So I came out here, had beautiful rows of these little flower seedlings. They were doing great. Came out here the next day and half of them were gone. I mean, you could see where they had just been nibbled off. And then the next day, the rest of them were gone. Now, my plan is that I have bought a cloth. I forget exactly what you call it. I got it from Gardener Supply. When I do it, I'll show it to you. But it's going to be an actual physical barrier to keep the rabbits out. So I will replant, I'm going to weed, replant, and immediately put up that cloth, and I'm going to stake it to the ground with landscape staples and then attach it to my posts that go through. Now, the cloth lets all the UV light through, it lets rain through, it does all of that. So it's great to have a physical barrier against critters, and or if you grow squash and zucchini, you know about squash bugs. Praise the Lord, the squash bugs have not found my plants, and so they're just keep producing and they're very healthy. So that is going to be my solution for that. So, messes and successes, my friends. All right. Next update is the umbrella pine bed here in the front yard. Now, this garden is less than a year old. You were with us when we redid the whole front yard, right? And we had to have some, the French drain came through here. And so we just redid this whole bed, made it bigger, made it better. So we've talked about this bed, but in the late winter, early spring, I added a ton of annuals and perennials to this bed, and I went ahead and pruned my butterfly candy buddleias. So, update. Now, within this bed, overall, it is a massive success. I could not be happier with how this full sun, now it is about, I don't know, it's about 9 o'clock in the morning. So the sun quite hasn't made it yet, but it's on its way. Full sun garden, not on irrigation. Now, one of the, probably the #1 plant that has pleasantly surprised me this year is this peach pearl agastache. Now, we went through the heat dome, so right now it's probably not, well, I know, it's not looking as fresh as it was. But this agastache, planted them as quartz, my friends, and look at that. It is going to be a wide, low-growing agastache. It is not tall. This is what it does. And my goodness, I did plant them in mass because I wanted that full coverage here on the front of the bed. Now, I did lose one, so I'm all about sharing it with you. There is one little sprig, but I'm just going to say that that plant has perished for whatever reason. I don't know why. It just did. But they're doing great. My tiny quick fires, they were a little on the struggle bus when I planted them. They were not super strong, healthy plants, but look at that. They are now got tons of new growth, New blooms, old blooms, doing really well. Happy with that. Now, overall, again, massively happy with this bed. The Gomphrena is doing great. Look at the butterfly candies. These are little raspberries. You were with me. I pruned them to the ground because they basically died completely back to the ground this winter with our colder winter. And look at that. It is every bit of close to 3 feet tall. I don't know, 2.5 to 3 feet wide, covered in flowers. We have all sorts of little pollinators that like to visit them. Again, could not be happier with how these are doing. Having that in that nice kind of quote mass planting in here. We've got 6 of them total in the bed. Chameleon grass. Oh my gosh, y'all. The Schizocarium. This is definitely a favorite of mine. Again, I was worried about how they were going to do over the winter because we planted them in early fall. They are not having a problem whatsoever. Beautiful foliage on them, doing great. Now, my Nephophia in here, we have the Poco Butter Brickle, and overall they have done great. I'm trying to get in here without stepping on plants. It is time for me to come in here and deadhead them. So your Nephophias, as long as they get kind of a consistent water, then they will keep blooming. And so going through the heat dome, it kind of knocked them back a little bit. They were in full bloom, but what I'm gonna do is come in here and deadhead them, and hopefully we will get a whole nother set of flowers as they start to flush out. Kind of the same thing with my, oh my goodness, y'all, with my, flock of flamingos penstemon. I'm laughing because there was a bumblebee in that flower and all I saw was his little hiney sticking out. So funny. So basically the big flush of flowers is done. So I'm going to come in here and what we do call the Chelsea chop. I'm just going to cut it in half. I'm not going to cut it to the ground. I'm just going to chop it off half way up the plant. It probably is not going to flower again, but what it does is it's going to put energy into the roots. And so then next year, I have a bigger and prettier plant than I do this year. So there you go for this bed. Everybody's doing well. And y'all, you know what? The weeds. The weeds are a real thing. We are in the South. Heaven knows. I don't care if you're in the South, the North, the East, the West. I don't care where you are. If you're a gardener, if anything struggles in your garden, it's not going to be the weeds, is it? No, no, no. They have the genetics that they are going to hang in there and survive no matter what. Weeds are everybody's constant problem. So what we do, how we manage weeds, is because people always ask how we manage weeds here. For the weeds in the flower beds, we go through and we hand pick them. So you can use your hori-hori, you can use a little spade, whatever if you need to. You really want to get those roots, but you're going to hand pull them. If they're in big, wide open areas away from your plants, you can use some kind of spray if you want to do that. We do have little patches of, whether you want to call it Bermuda or whatever, pesky grass. If you have it, you know what I'm talking about. We have a very healthy clump right here on the side of the good grass, the fescue, and then the gravel. So this is what I just call Bermuda. I guess it is, I don't know. But what happens is it sends out runners, right? So you get these runners and they root all the way. They go to China. That's where the roots go, my friends. And you can see how they're just kind of creeping over. The only way to come in here and get rid of this is to, what I say, just nuke them. So use a strong herbicide, you come in here and you spray it. If you don't get it while you can somewhat contain it, then it will completely overtake your gardens and your plants. So get it while you can, right? That's what we say. If you see a weed, pull a weed. I got lots of weeds that I'm seeing, so what I'm going to do is just take it bit by bit, section by section, because otherwise I get very overwhelmed. So I'm just going to take little areas at a time and take care of it. Case in point, the front yard. We're going to do, Brent and I are going to work in the shade this morning as soon as we hop off here with you, and we're going to go through and we are going to pull some weeds. Let me give you an update on that area. This is, of course, part of that front yard makeover that we were talking about that we did. Started this probably this time last year. Firelight tidbits. Oh my gosh, y'all. I'm loving this. I love firelight tidbits. Of course, we've got more of the chameleon grass up here on the front. Firelight tidbits, strong, nice, petite, stocky, well branched, full of blooms, panicle hydrangea. You can see they're already starting to get a hue of pink on them. Because of our heat and humidity, our panicles do not turn the pink and the red like our friends in Michigan. So if I can get a pink hue like this, I'm a happy gardener. So everything here is doing well. The Artist Blue Ageratum, so happy with that. And then of course that lemon coral sedum. So the lime green, the blue, doing great. And then the Perfecto Mundo pink carpet azaleas, my gosh, they are doing great as well. This part is not on irrigation, and during the drought and the heat dome, I was coming through here and watering every day, specifically for my azaleas, because it is on a good slope. We've had some, of course, some gravel because of the construction. So this is really well draining, and I was wanting to make sure that they were nice and happy and doing well, and they have bounced back. They were a little struggling, that like they was on the cusp of not doing well, but they are doing great, and I'm happy with them. Of course, the Abelia, this is Mucho Gusto Abelia, doing great. I mean, awesome. I could come in here and maybe shape them up a little bit, but I really don't see the need to. And then these two are Firelight Tidbits. They are not as in full bloom as the ones right by the front porch, and that is because they stay in the shade a bit longer. So they're just a little bit behind. They still have buds. You can see that they're opening up. They're just not as thick and full as the flowers as the other ones, just because of the sun issue. So y'all, every year presents something different in the gardens, right? Whether it's weather, whether it's critters, whether it is life and things in your life, your personal life come up. And so just remember, there is grace in gardening, and there are messes and there are successes. And so like I can choose, especially from now until the end of August, I don't say you, I'm speaking for myself, can get very kind of discouraged in the garden because the garden starts to look sad and tired because of going through the heat. We're supposed to go up into the upper 90s again this week. And so it can get a little disheartening, but for everything there is a season. And while we are responsible and we do our things that we're supposed to, trying to keep those weeds at bay, looking for the plants that are struggling, so to make sure that they get their water and they don't die, right? Those kinds of things, choosing your battles, just do that. It's not supposed to be disheartening and overwhelming. Certainly can be at some times, but that's not the goal. We breathe. And for my Southerners, cooler temperatures will come. It's gonna take a minute, but eventually they'll come. So anyway, I hope this has been encouraging because, like I said, real life gardens here at Creekside, share the messes and the successes with you because heaven knows I don't want to let you think that my gardens are perfect all the time. They're not. In fact, we have a garden tour this Saturday, so I've got to get busy and get some things cleaned up. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.